Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Rebecca Swanson, and I'm a teaching professor at the Colorado School of Mines. We were all sort of thrown into the deep end of the pool last March when the pandemic was declared and our universities transitioned to remote course offerings. Then in the fall and spring, we had the additional challenges of maybe moving to a hybrid setting or asynchronous offerings. And many of us developed new tools or had to learn new tools or techniques or make other changes to our courses to adapt. And I'm here to share with you some of the successful changes I made, along with how I'm thinking of implementing these tools in the future. So to set the stage, I need to share with you what my classes look like pre-pandemic so you can see where I needed to adapt. And then I'll discuss how I adapted during the pandemic and end with a reflection on what we can keep. So first, a little bit of my background. I'm going to use my Calculus 2 course mostly because it was primarily what I was teaching last year. I've been the Calc 2 coordinator for the past years and was teaching that last spring, last fall, and currently. Because all mine students take the entire calculus sequence, we have 20 to 25 sections of approximately 40 students each year. Well, I teach one or two of those sections each semester. The rest of the teaching team is made up of a mix of adjunct faculty, postdocs, and graduate teaching fellows. And while I am going to focus on calculus, I did also teach our introductory proofs course in the fall and applied many of the same changes there. So what does coordination mean? It just means we have common course materials like syllabus, homework, exams, the common Canvas course that I create, all of these things. The exams are commonly graded. We were using GradeScope before the pandemic and are going to continue to use that. And we have generally a common course structure that I'll talk about momentarily. This common course structure is motivated by some of the elements of my teaching philosophy and was developed in conjunction or collaboration with Deb Carney, who is another faculty member here at Mines. In general, some of these elements are that we learn by doing. We have to be okay by making mistakes and failing in order to learn. We learn with and from our peers. And these first three items all mean that students must be really engaged in the learning process. And then as far as the instructor role, it's to create this learning environment. And sometimes that includes telling or lecturing, but only if it's just in time. So this visual kind of demonstrates the course structure. It's kind of, the pyramid structure is kind of intentional and it's kind of bottom up. In order for students to have time to do and to learn with and from their peers, we have to arrange for some class time for that, which means moving some stuff out of class. Yielding what we're referring to as a partially flipped model. So introductory and low-level material is moved out of class to videos or readings. And then to support students in that individual effort, we provide some pre-class questions that students complete. Now, these questions are graded for effort, demonstrating a safe space to fail. And they also include a way for students to communicate directly with their instructor. So every set of those questions has a question that is, do you have any questions? And this is where we find out a lot about how much students really got from the pre-class and what things still didn't make sense. We tell them that if they have questions, they should put them there because that pre-class question set motivates what we do in class, both in seeing what the students are not getting right, but also in the many questions that students ask us. So those readings and pre-class questions happen before attending class. And then during class, we begin with kind of a brief interactive discussion. And this is where I'm doing some of the lecturing or the telling with some interactive elements. Again, this discussion portion is motivated by students' responses to the pre-class. And then we move on to some collaborative work. And that collaborative work, students are working kind of on problems in groups. And these problems kind of build up some of the bigger ideas in the course or in the topic. We have them submit those and they are graded, but just for effort. Again, another safe space to fail. And then we have this end of class time where I help them kind of synthesize the ideas, kind of point out some of the big things that they were working on or maybe seeing in their group work. Outside of class, they have a mix of homework. There's weekly online homework, which is kind of more computational. Here they have unlimited attempts, but it is graded on correctness now, not on effort. And then there's written homework where it's very conceptual And the support we provide there there's less support. They only get one attempt at the homework to turn in, but they are provided a rubric to help them kind of know what's expected. So you can see this progression that kind of as we move up this pyramid, we're providing less and less support. For exams, they traditionally have no major supports. But then the pandemic hit. In March 2020, we all completed our semesters remotely. In the fall semester, we still had a couple of remote sessions sections that met synchronously, and I was teaching those. The remaining ones were hybrid, where half the students came to class in person, and then the other half attended remotely, and that they would kind of switch off every other day. The big question facing us, and I'm sure many of you, was how do we maintain the course structure and more importantly, the integrity of the course? So let's return to the diagram. I added some green check marks to indicate the places where we left things mostly alone, didn't make any changes. The orange kind of check marks indicate that some adjustment needed to be made or maybe just was made. And there's one box that has no check mark where the biggest changes were made, and we'll come back to that one. So before class, we could have left everything as is as far as like the readings and videos and the pre-class questions. And we did leave the pre-class questions alone, but because we had some students attending asynchronously for various reasons, we added some more videos. But otherwise, the before class preparation was maintained. During class, the brief interactive discussion was still brief, but maybe less interactive. I did do some polling and here and there and some other things to try to encourage participation in that, but maybe it was not as interactive as it was in person. The synthesis of ideas was pretty much the same. The homework was pretty much the same. Regarding exams, we still had exams, but we wanted to take advantage of best practices and reduce the temptation for misconduct by lowering the stakes. So pre-pandemic, we had 3 exams and a final that made up of 80% of the course grade. Starting during the pandemic, we changed it to 2 exams, but with reflection pieces where they get some points. Bi-weekly quizzes and a final, and all of that together comprise 75% of the grade. But individually, so even though it still counted for this larger portion of the grade, individually each assessment had lower stakes. The place where the largest changes had to be made was for that in-class collaborative group work. As we were meeting over Zoom, I knew that I could assign students breakout rooms. But after experimenting with screen sharing or other ways for students to work on problems, I tried to figure out something better, and I did some research and found Google Jamboards as a really nice tool. Google Jamboards are part of the free Google Suite. They allow students to work or write in the same space. So I would post problems on a Jamboard slide, copy the slides so that each group had a slide. And so the students in breakout room 1 went to slide 1, students in breakout room 2 went to slide 2, etc. And a lot of the benefits of working at a board are evident in this Jamboard setting. For instance, if a student is stuck, they could easily see what other groups are doing. So let me show you an example. So here is an example where students were working on an application of integration. And you can see there's various ways that they participated in this. So some students have tablets and styluses and they can write directly. Some students type on their computer. Some students would work things out on paper and then take a picture with their phone and pull it into the Jamboard and then discuss it as a group. And so you can see this first example here has an example of students where nobody had a stylus, so they participated by taking these pictures with their phones. This group here, you can see a mix of some typing and some people were writing with styluses. And in this group, somebody had like a different kind of tablet that they were kind of working on, and they would then write and then kind of copy, like take a screenshot of what was on their computer with that and then paste that into the Jamboard. And then I would go through and give feedback on these. How I would work varies. I used to rotate through the breakout rooms. and just kind of check in on each group and see how they're doing and see if they have questions and give some feedback. But now I actually kind of just start by looking through the Jamboards. I kind of just flip through the slides kind of constantly. I tell them that I'm going to be giving them some feedback using a yellow pen, and so you can see that on some of these slides. And I can give them feedback or encouragement. I'll kind of give them a check mark if they're in the right direction or moving in the right way or have the right idea. I'll write some comments if they're not moving in the right direction. But now I can target my efforts. So if a group seems to be going down the wrong path, or they're really stuck, or they don't seem to be making much progress, then I'll jump into their breakout room and kind of get a better idea of where they are and what they're doing. And students, of course, always have the option to raise their hand for me to come in to their breakout room if I have, and I can answer their questions then. I did keep mostly uniform groups based upon feedback. It seems that very few people like being placed into random breakout rooms each day. They like to kind of know who they're going to be working with. Additionally, in a regular class, I would have usually had students just hand in one of these sheets in by hand, so I could give feedback, and then I would return that the next class day. But now I just have them take a screenshot of their Jamboard and submit it to Canvas, and then I can grade those there. And the nice thing is they can, in Canvas, they can, in their grade book, they can just see the feedback. The whole group sees all the feedback, and they can all see the work too very easily. I've had a lot of good feedback from students about how this works. This is one way I was able to maintain that engagement. I had a few other improvements to engagement though. So using the Zoom chat to solicit questions during class made it easier for students to ask questions. I felt that I was able to engage students in the mathematics part, in the collaborative part during class. The community piece was kind of still missing for me. So what I tried this semester was weekly discussion boards on Canvas with non-math topics. So they're generally not related to the topics in the course, but rather a chance for me to try and get to know the students better as people. We've had discussions related to favorite books or movies, dream vacations, career goals, studying tips, and others. And so, in the past, I often got to know some of my more outgoing students, or the ones that kind of sat in the front as I came and chatted with them before class. I feel like I'm getting to know a larger subset of my students better. And then I also share my responses or give feedback in these chats or in these discussion boards. The other piece is office hours. So in the shift to remote learning or hybrid learning, we did have to hold our office hours over Zoom, primarily because most offices on campus didn't allow for two people to be in the same space and maintain social distancing because the offices just weren't big enough. So in addition to holding them over Zoom, which we were kind of required to do, we also made them open to all students. And I've noticed an increase in office hour attendance during this past year. I feel like there's a lot of students who might be intimidated about coming into a professor's office, or just too busy to make it across campus, or maybe they just have a quick question and it seems silly to walk all the way across campus for a short question. And so we posted a table of all of the office hours on our Canvas page, kind of based upon time and with the links in the table, and they could easily just open up Canvas and click on a link and be in somebody's office hours. And we have many more students now attending. So I have some students who log in and kind of just hang out for the entire time and kind of maybe don't have particular questions. They're just kind of working through things and just want to be hanging out. Some people just stop in for a quick question that they have and then they're gone. I also sometimes move them into breakout rooms to discuss details of a problem or to match students kind of working on the same thing. So that increased presence and participation is definitely one of those things I'd like to keep going forward. And that leads us to the question, what next? So how can we leverage all that we've done and learned this past year when we were back in the classroom? I've been reflecting on this, and so here's some of the thoughts related to what I'm doing. I'm actually thinking seriously about continuing to log into Zoom next fall, even though I'm going to be at least at this point, we're planning to be entirely in person at Mines. I can project my writing for students who are there, but I feel like now maybe students who are not feeling well, who are sick, could log in remotely that day and still participate. It also allows me to easily share my notes with students from class. The other advantage, of course, is what we talked about with the chat feature, that students can easily message me directly or chat when they might not feel comfortable raising a hand. As far as a collaborative piece, I am going to continue to have students submit their work on Canvas instead of turning it into me. I feel like that part is definitely better. As far as the Jamboards, it kind of depends. A lot of students don't have tablets and styluses, so a lot of them will probably prefer to work on paper, but some of them might like having that Jamboard option. So I'm still thinking about how I might use that or leverage that. As far as outside of class, I'm definitely going to continue Zoom office hours. I'm still going to, as long as it's safe, allow students to participate in person. But I think that making them open to all students, we're going to continue that. And then having them over Zoom for those students who maybe they live off campus and they don't want to come in, or maybe they're across campus. And I just feel like we'll get more participation. And I've enjoyed having that greater participation. And I like the discussion boards for a chance to get to know my students in a different way, especially the ones who are quieter and might not participate in person in the same way. And then finally, I do want to continue having the more frequent lower stakes assessments instead of just these couple big ones. So as we close, I'd love to hear about what you are all doing or trying in your classes, and especially what you plan to take forward with you. So to this end, I have an assignment for you. I created a Jamboard link. It's right here. It's a short one you can write down, or I'm going to make a copy of that link below that you can click on. So please click on it and share a couple of your ideas. And finally, as far as just references, I could have put a lot of references down related to like my teaching philosophy. One of a book I read recently, The ABCs of Learning, and I feel like a lot of what I do is actually supported by some of the ideas in here. And so I can also share these slides if anyone is interested, if you want to see more about that. But thank you all for your time. I look forward to seeing you all virtually at the section meeting. Have a good day, everybody.